A little background's in order to frame the issue that I'd like to talk about. When I went to graduate school, it was the beginning of what were called the paradigm wars in the United States. That was this huge controversy between those who were defenders of what was at the time called quantitative approaches versus the up-and-comers who were called the qualitativist approaches. And so it was inevitable that when I was in graduate school, this was on the agenda. And one of the issues that always preoccupied me in those debates was that I thought that there were quite a few people who didn't know what they were talking about. And in my graduate career, I studied research methodology and philosophy of science. And so the earliest work I did was an attempt to clarify what I thought were the issues, what were responsible positions on the issues, why it was a mistake, for example, to call the positivists realists, why constructionism is not such a threat, and so on and so forth. And so some of the work I did in the first 10 years was all about what we could broadly call clarifying the foundations of qualitative thinking. So I wrote a number of papers about different kinds of epistemologies that were involved in understanding the broad arena of qualitative inquiry. Epistemologies that had to do with phenomenology and with hermeneutics and with the philosophy of interpretivism and eventually the philosophy of constructivism. All really with the intent of kind of clearing the underbrush and sharpening the arguments and making sure we knew what it is that we were really talking about. And when we were defending qualitative work, what exactly were you defending, right? Were you defending simply a set of methods that were borrowed largely from anthropology and fieldwork sociology, which had been around a very long time? Or were you defending a different way of knowing and a completely different way of understanding what knowledge was? So I wrote some papers about that, some book chapters about that, and then eventually I wrote something called the Dictionary of Qualitative Inquiry, which is now, I guess, about to be in its 4th or 5th edition. And it's a little bit of a misnomer to call it a dictionary because it's really a large book about this vocabulary that makes up this broad arena that we call qualitative inquiry, with rather lengthy expositions of key terms like interpretivism or constructivism. And the idea there, too, was to sort of help graduate students get on a firmer footing when they were talking about this kind of work. The thing that then, of course, I was doing was teaching qualitative inquiry. I've been doing it now for 26 or 7 years, I can't remember. And a good part of the course the courses are often dispelling bad ideas that people have or mistaken ideas that people have about what qualitative inquiry is, and getting to form a more responsible picture of what I think is largely something like an arena. That qualitative inquiry isn't one thing. It's an arena in which a series of issues are being debated, and where in the arena there's as much debate within the arena as there is between the arena and some other arena, like those who would call themselves experimentalists. And because I was trained as a research methodologist, I always was able to walk back and forth between the two arenas in some significantly important way for myself, and have something interesting to say to those who were defenders of the sort of Campbellian school of the experimenting society. At the same time, have something interesting to say to those who were committed to doing good anthropological field work in education. So that work here, I brought that work here to the University of Illinois, and which was a home of a lot of other well-known people in the arena of qualitative inquiry, not least of whom is Norman Denzin. But Jennifer Green also pursued some ideas of this kind in the field of evaluation, though not necessarily in the field of qualitative inquiry, just like I did. And this became a place, and has been known as a place, where that kind of thing has flourished.